glad to have you on Africa Speaks tonight.
Nice to see you again as usual.
I know, we live in Los Angeles and we do so much, but you are such an ardent advocate. I remember almost 15, 20 years maybe, actually, that you were talking about building this African coalition. Tell me a little bit first, though, about how you came to the United States, because I know, but most people don't know.
Well, long way. So I'm an immigrant myself. I came to United States. Before I came to United States, I was in Canada, actually. So being Ethiopian, I couldn't stand the cold, so I had to come to here, United States, Los Angeles. And since I came here, it's been such a journey that leads me to become an advocate on behalf of others, because I've been through, you know, single mom, I've been a student, and I've been head of a house, which I'm still. So those experiences are what inspire me to do what I'm doing right now. So as an immigrant, I did experience all the people in the world who has to face with the acculturation process. Wasn't easy for me.
You know, most people go through a lot of things, though, but don't actually go out there to create a foundation or an organization that's going to cater to those things. What was it about your life that motivated you to create your organization?
Well, I think it takes a village. When I met you about 15, 20 years ago, I was just doing day-to-day life. And as we're getting older, we have an experience, and also become more, you know, social worker, which I start helping others. But it comes to my mind, what if I help my own people? And then how does that look like to be an immigrant, have no resource and have no language expert or in this country? And so that's what will motivate me. Like, if I help others, why not? We can't do for our communities. Not only that, I'm not the only one. There's others who was, you being one of them, the voice of the community, either Immigrant magazine back in the days, now in more media. So a lot of us come together to form this organization, actually. So I don't take the whole credit for myself.
Well, you don't, but let's talk about the African Communities Public Health Coalition. You should take some credit, because most of us are doing our own little bit, and that's good. But tell us a little bit about what this foundation does, what your organization does. It's an organization about African communities, by the way.
Right, it's African-driven and community-driven, as I say. It was founded by us, means immigrants and refugees, here in Los Angeles. It was back 2008 and 2009 when the mental health issue, mainly suicide rate, was really high. And so happened I was interning in the Department of Mental Health. They really wanted to help the Department of Mental Health expand the services to minors or underserved communities, but they don't know how. Because we can use you know, the term cultural competence services, but it doesn't mean nothing within African communities. We are so diverse, we're different. So that's when we really gather, me and other colleagues, and start community assessment. What is missing? What's the gap? Because people don't come forward to receive services. Mental health being a taboo, and everybody has his own culture define what mental health means. So that also has been one of the barriers to come forward. Some, you know, interpret it as a spiritual issue. Some comes from traditional way, as a ritual. Nobody really accepted Western system. That's the brain disease. What African Coalition tried to bring is bringing the whole, this holistic treatment from Western clinical perspective, and also cultural, ritual, what we've lived for years and years in our culture. And that's why we're trying to bridge that gap, so community can be able to trust what services being provided for the others or individuals who needed help. So it was been such a journey for me, experience. It's been a while since we established this relationship with the community. One of the key things what be able to accomplish is building the trust among our community leaders, community members, and say we can do this. It really took us a while to establish that. So African Coalition is the voice of those community leaders, community members, individuals, public entity, Department of Mental Health, and others are gathering, and it's just a good partnership. That's what we're doing.
So you mentioned mental health. Now, coming from our culture, there's a lot of stigma surrounding that.
Yes.
And African Coalition addresses those issues. Do you think most of what we experience here as immigrants is something that we brought as baggage from the continent?
Well, where we came from is a pre and post traumatic incidents. I don't know how your country, Cameroon, I'm sure it's the same thing. Before we came here, we go to an immigration process, bureaucracy. Some of them come from the, civil unrest, conflict, war experiences. Some of us we don't like the government. Some of us have social problems. So just to have this American dream, whatever reason we come with, either refugee, immigrants. There is a difference between refugee and immigrants. Refugee has no choice, but they were forced to leave behind the loved ones to come here for the safety. The first thing is a safety. Versus the immigrants coming here for American dream or any other reason, or education, and to achieve the dream. So going the process is a huge, mental health is part of it, and that impact how we process day-to-day life, stressors, and being isolated, missing belongingness. We don't have a community that really supporting us. It's individualism here in America versus collective community, what we came from. That causes a lot of mental health. With that, we don't really accept the fact mental health is a brain disease, any other like diabetics or any other medical issues. We look at it as some spiritual issue and also a shame of being insane. So to do so, we have to do a lot of work within our culture, within our language, interpret what it means to that person, mental health issue. It's not just being crazy, mental health is just mental well-being. In other words, like everybody can have mental health, but it doesn't have to be really psychosis or delusional. So we have this generalizing diagnosis, like when we say mental health, oh, I'm not crazy, I'm not insane. And that's the problem we have. So we work so hard raising awareness from culture perspective, and also what it means to us as a community getting together. So right now, thank God, we've done quite work through the projects. People start coming forward just to talk not only mental health, other social and political issue. When I say political issue, immigration issues as well.
What are some of the things that you've encountered, especially of immigrants, regardless of whether they're refugees or immigrants? I think when we get here, we just become one.
Right.
Is there a problem there because someone is coming from a different kind of stress from the other? What are some of the cases that you've encountered where your organization has been able to provide some help?
Well, it's really hard to tell. To start with, we are the Black continent. When I speak in African descendant, either African continent or Caribbeans was African descendant. When we come to the United States, we really be classified as an African American or other Black. That itself is a trauma, to be honest with. That means here African American is here because of what they've done, what they sacrificed, to be able to identify ourselves a Black person here to live in the United States. With that, we still also carry the burden of that segregation, what they have as a Black woman or as a Black man. In addition to one, we bring with ourselves a traumatic experience back home. So when it comes to refugee, unless it is one-on-one individual, we really can't tell, because even if it was immigrants coming with a little cash, when you come here, it's totally different. People who are in doctor, lawyers, when they come to the United States, you're gonna suggest an entry-level job, a janitor, security. That takes a self-esteem, being who you are, your identity, part of it is gone. That is a trauma. Versus refugee, they left their loved ones, they left the neighborhood, but they must leave, they have no choice, either natural disaster or civil war. Those are the ones who's forced. So they can never recover to see themselves moving beyond that, and that's the difference between a refugee and also they had to be placed certain area to be together with the settlement, whatever it is, United States have a set. Versus immigrant can go, most immigrants, some sort of family to connect with before they come, versus the other refugees, they have no that choice but come and just being settled somewhere. So a huge, a little bit different in socially, but as far as mental health, it's the same thing. Either you come to the plane or cross the street, crossing the border, your mental well-being is affected. That it's the same factors that life in the United States and also what is left behind.
You know what, you bring a very important point. I'm just curious. Many of us walking around with mental health issues and we don't know, because when we get here, we start from the bottom. Doesn't matter if you had a degree, PhD, whatever you accomplished before. When you get here, you have to start from scratch. And then now we're said to be resilient. This word resilient that we say, Africans are resilient. Inside that resiliency is a trauma.
Yes, resilience in general, to survive. This is a jungle. To me, when I came here, I thought it was something different than really the movie I watched when I was very young, and I was young when I came here. The good thing, the younger you are, the better you can handle, you can resist, versus others and settle, they have a family, and then when they lost that, it's totally different trauma. So resiliency in general is good. Means we came here, we survived, we go to school, we work, we accomplish what we need to accomplish. Not only that, sending some money even to support our family. That's resiliency. That's what we say. That's because we came from different culture. And also is who you are as a person, the pride, what we carry on. So I'm doing it for my mother, my father, versus African American. They don't have the choice. Being told that you have less than any other ethnic population or population, so that intergenerational traumatic and segregation is being impacted their mind. So that's why we have more resilience versus in our generation versus our children. It's a totally different story, that one. Let's even go there.
Now let's talk about some of the scenarios of the services about African women. We come and we have a whole other baggage that some women are dealing with. Tell me about some of the scenarios where women can find, African women, immigrants of course, can find solutions with your organizations.
I can name few, but not all of them, if I would. One thing I have to say, it's really what attracts and what makes it unique service in African Coalition is our clinicians are African-born immigrants. We speak different languages, and also the culture is there. So we don't treat them per se, oh, you are depressed and you're this, you're that. We treat the whole system. Systemic theory means, how about your husband? How about your children? How about your support group? We look at beyond that one individual problem. So I like that, the fact we take a time to go where they are settings. It could be a church, it could be the mosque, it could be a social gathering, where we need to be to treat that person. So to answer your question, African women, in a way, they have different issues. To name some, domestic violence is one. Domestic violence, some cultures accepted as a normal. The woman has to be really by the rules and regulations. So there's a conflict among husband and wife. The other one is domestic violence is one. The other one is substance abuse. The husband, substance in a way, we call it substance abuse, including alcohol abuse. The husband use much, or vice versa. So many people exposed to that. The other one is now it's showing in our Los Angeles city, not much, but a lot of new generations in the first and the second generation exposed to. It's called FGM, female genital mutilation. That's a new thing going on. Unfortunately, we don't have any prevention measure that is taken by immigration or any other resources specifically for the Muslims community, they tend to stereotype Muslims and Africans, but we learn to find out that Far East have that experience, and any other, even Eastern European had that practice. So we got involved to eradicate and also raising awareness with that as well. So we can name more, but this is really a main factor. Domestic violence is one of the things. Women tend to have a conflict once they got to the United States. The culture change, expectation, the stress, financial stress is one of the major factors that causes. So really, we've seen a lot of families becoming dysfunctional. So African Coalition is there to just to be mediator in between from cultural perspective, using imams, using priests, using community advisors. That's what we're doing.
Do you find a lot of women come to you, or are we still stigmatizing domestic violence? I think we don't, most women, even in the West, don't complain about being abused. So not to mention African women, especially even the educated women who are here.
Right. Well, either way, they will come forward. Unfortunately, we don't have that prevention in a way. They don't come forward like, I'm having an issue with my husband. I want to prevent before it gets further. Mm-hmm. They do come, the fact, after they have some issue with separation or abuses, or in some cases, Department of Children's Service, Department of Children Family Service, DCFS get involved. Then we have to step in. We have to let them know, okay, this is a cultural issue. She said, he said, but we have to protect the whole family at one. And that's what we've been working with a lot of women. Yes, and also tends to be a woman's the one took the children with, and then, you know, how it goes financially, they really struggle with that. Social support, they struggle, and a shame the fact they lose the house and they don't have a marriage anymore. Those are the things what impacted the women of immigrants in here in the United States and most.
That's really something. You do so much. So
right.
How can we, as people in the diaspora, how can we help each other out? Because like you mentioned at some point about individualistic mindset. Mm-hmm. So that affects us. How can we work together to bridge this and help one another? Because people suffer in silence.
Well, as I said, passion is what I see from the person. No matter how much you advertise, if you don't have a passion, willingness, the work's not being done. Mm-hmm. If we do have the passion that we really care about the community, it's not about us achieving, it's not about us successful and, you know, this is who I am. Yes, we came from one purpose, only one, the American dream or being safety.
Right.
So either we achieve that, there's another mission in life. It's about the principle, what you have. In life, you have to have principle. Those are the people who does really sacrifice and say, I will do beyond this. I will give back to my community. I can save one family. I can help one person is what we're asking from anyone. So partnership is great. I mean, what you're doing is excellent. Exposing what we're doing, raising the awareness. This has to be told. There's nothing ashamed to talk about mental health or domestic violence or substance abuse, even FGM to the point. We have to bring it to our community and the public officials to supporting us. What happened in most communities, including African immigrants, it's becoming a trend. Something is in the media and the community, everybody got involved. If it's not somebody's got involved, we don't really look at that as a very sensitive and urgent issue. That's why we have to push, educate our community before the fact we become dysfunctional family, before the fact we end up about substance abuse treatment, before the fact and we end up in the hospital and dependent of medication. Prevention is what we're trying to promote. We have to teach what it means from different perspective, more so bringing our culture, how we can communicate, how we can trust among each other. That's very key for us. So raising awareness by all means, either media or a workshop or you name it. And through our social gathering or our, our human assets, we have to be able to raise and work together.
This is just amazing. I'm just curious, how can the community help you accomplish these goals? Because it seems like education and exposure is what we need as a community. How can we, in our various groups, assist you do this much more intensively?
It's great. It's a good question. There's no defined way of helping each other. As I said first, and one has to have that passion. I really want to do makes difference. It doesn't have to don't have to be educated. You don't have to be rich, or you don't have to speak the language. Your language is your voice. You can speak the language, your native language, to interpret, to help others. You could come be part of this process, raising the awareness. You can gather, you can empower the community, even to have someone just give at your ear to listen, someone when they're complaining, I need help. That's what it takes. That's how we started to start with. I have no idea what I was doing. I'm still not doing, I'm serious. But I just keep going and learning day to day, think where it's gonna take us. I have to learn how to tackle the system and how to integrate other, networking with other organizations. That is not something that we teach you, this is how you do it because you're African. This is not, but being African, what it taught me, for me, was a strength why I earn, or heritage, I would say, just to stay still to the end, to the goal, which what we're doing. So we have to be able to come together unconditionally to tackle a lot of things. Right now, for example, we have a public charge policy that affects most immigrant community. May I say something about it? So majority immigrants are going to be affected. Those are who needs to bring the family together, sponsor the one to get married, even to the point to become naturalization. This public church policy, every other community has education, reached out. Well, guess what? In our community, nothing has been done. African descendant, is this including in immigrants and Caribbean community. That's what we're tackling. Another thing also, where do we get our service that is culturally and linguistically appropriate? What we have traditional mental health service right now is a revolving door. Where they send you, there has like the clinical standard you have to follow, but that person would never come back. It's just in and out in the hospital. Why? Because I don't see anybody talk like me. I don't see anybody understand my culture. That's why we are advocating right now. We have Immigrant and Refugees Mental Health Advocacy Project. African Coalition is the first one to be working with a state, which I'm so proud to say that, state of California, the MHSA Act, that's Mental Health Service Act, are funding to advocates. Right now we are speaking a roundtable discussion with Department of Mental Health, which they are been working with us the last 7 years and give us different projects. And the other one also now the state. So we are moving forward. Right now we have a lot of brothers and sisters who are detainees in Mexico border, in here at Atlanta and other places. There's no one even go to visit them, see how the mental health issue is huge. We received quite few, about 10, 15 detainees from released, and well, they have asylum cases. We help them because these people don't speak English, for example. These people need that connection with the community, their own people. So we've been working with a lot on that too. We have Baji on the other side, the policy advocacy, the two organizations so far, but African Coalition is upfront to provide a service. These people need housing, people's medical, even toothbrush and shoes, you name it, all the sanity items is what we need. So for that, we have a lot of work to do. So this is a great opportunity. Thank you for you and your colleagues to bring this issue to the surface, so we can call up to people that the community to be together can tackle so many social and political issues. Unless we stand together, we're going to be eliminated like any other generation.
You know what? You've said it all.
Yeah.
We need to stand together and work together.
Right.
Because without it, most communities have resources. We don't.
It is. So yeah, we are so proud and we are lucky to be where we are right now. We are very thankful for everybody going through this process and support morally, financially, voluntarily, with a lot of young men and women to be where we are. We're the only African-centered organization in California, if not a state, provide mental health service. We're so proud, and so we are expanding our services. Our immigration is doing exactly, we're doing like green card renovation, naturalization, public assistance, for example. A lot of people don't know how to apply benefits, Social Security, DPSS. People don't know what to do when they have DCFS involved in their family. Children is being taken away without understanding. So this is the kind of work we're doing. We have a lot to do, but we're so thankful, Pam. I know you've been such a great tool for our community up front and bringing the issue of the community and supporting everybody. That's what it takes.
And you've said it all. So bottom line, Ms. Senait is here for you.
Thank you.
She's a bridge between immigration and mental health. Most people don't realize that the experiences that they go through in the immigration process actually triggers mental health issues.
Exactly, yeah.
And when you think of mental health, most people think you have to be crazy. It's not the case.
Yes.
And your organization, like you said, we're trying to let you know that there are services here for you, whatever you're experiencing, domestic violence, women's issues, raising children can be a stressor.
Yes.
Right? Immigration issues, being on that list where you're going to be deported. You know, all of these things are stresses that lead to mental health issues. But before we close it out, I want to find out from you, why is there so much resistance in our culture and our community in getting counseling? It doesn't seem like we like to go for counseling because not everything needs a pill.
No, as I said, mental health doesn't have to be, a study shows 1 every 4 American. That's counting us within 4 of us, 1 of us. Some people have, our common mental issue is stress, so it's like depression, anxiety, fear, all that is the common one with us. So again, stigma is like, and trust. The stigma is like, well, if I go to the counseling means, or mental health means, it's huge stigma. That means insane, unstable mentally. That's what it sounds. So people trying to be away from that identity, trying to avoid that negative connotation of the community. So what we're trying to do to teach, I mean, I have to say, since last 10 years, we've been working with the issue. Lately, a lot of community is just becoming, especially West Africans. We work closely with mosques and some Christians. It's amazing improvement we've seen. A lot of people come. As I say, it's not just per se mental health what impact the community. It's called social determinant. What are those social determinant? That's the school system, the children, that's economic level, that's housing status, and that's a job opportunity. All this financial is social determinant. So what do we have to compare ourselves with other communities had that met? That's exactly what African Coalition Becoming a Bridge is, like a culturation process, taking you from the country of origin to the Western culture, the domain culture. Those are the kind of service we provide. So we work with the Department of Health, we work the PSS, we work the immigration, we work a lot of elected officials, although not as much as we wanted to. We pushing towards that collaborative partnership because we do not want to be called hard to reach community. We're not hard to reach community. We can be reached out, we can be treated ourselves, by ourselves, for ourselves. So let's just put this together, we can do it.
And one more note. Should we stop telling people back home how great it is out here? Because maybe when we come out here, we have these expectations, and then we get here and the dollar is not on the trees.
I don't know if we tell them. There is no easy way living anywhere. I have to say that. I don't think anybody wants to suffer, to be honest with Pam. I see that. I see my brothers and sisters going through South America, Libya, you name it, Brazil, and they end up here. A lot of them end up in Mexico. They can't even have sanitation for the women and the children. I don't think anybody chose to be that way. But unfortunately, what we have a lot of work to do as an African immigrants in the diaspora is maybe someday someone can hear what we're trying to say. If they have the opportunity, the country where they came from, and you and I think that would be the best solution. So we have to advocate on behalf of those, those are the people really don't have any other option, or as you said, misleaded to come in, whatever reason they came. We have to advocate for the African Union to do the better work. We have to advocate the government to do the better work. And if so happen they come either through the border or direct flight, then it's us as the brothers and sisters how to show them how to breach like we did. Nobody did to me. I was just surviving by myself. That's the reason I came in. Somebody had to do something else. So it's not telling him what to do because we don't know what's going on back home. I've been back and forth. The political climate all over Africa is not the same it used to be. So I think our responsibility is once they get here, how do we bridge them? How do we help them is what our focus would be. That's where this African coalition comes to.
Okay. That makes sense. So, you're welcome to come to the United States. You're also welcome to reach out to the African Coalition.
Be strong. Be strong
and get help. Don't suffer in silence. Thank you for watching. This is Pamela on Africa Speaks.